This is the Dive Into Discovery podcast, where curiosity meets insight, and every conversation uncovers a new layer of understanding.
All right, so get this. We're diving deep today into an extinction event so massive that it makes the dinosaur extinction look like, well, a tiny blip on the radar.
That's right. We're talking about the Permian-Triassic extinction event, or as it's more dramatically known, the Great Dying.
Yeah, the Great Dying. What a name, huh? It's like something straight out of a sci-fi apocalypse movie.
Except it's not fiction. This was a real event that happened 252 million years ago.
252 million years ago, wow. And from what I read up on, it's estimated that something like 90 to 96% of all marine life just vanished.
Gone, wiped out. And it wasn't just the ocean. 70% of land vertebrates disappeared, too.
I mean, those numbers are just mind-boggling. It's hard to even wrap your head around the scale of it all.
Yeah, it really is. It's the biggest extinction event Earth has ever seen, a true planetary reset button.
So where do we even begin to unpack this? How did such a catastrophic event even happen?
Well, the prime suspect, and this is where it gets really interesting, is a series of massive volcanic eruptions in what's now Siberia.
Volcanoes.
Right.
Really, I mean, I know volcanoes can be destructive, but enough to cause a global extinction.
These weren't just any eruptions. We're talking about the Siberian Traps, a vast volcanic region that spewed out lava and toxic gases for almost a million years.
A million years. Seriously, that's like almost unfathomable.
Imagine enough lava to bury the entire continental United States in a layer hundreds of meters thick.
The entire U.S. buried under lava. That's just insane.
Yeah.
Okay, but lava can't reach everywhere, right? So how did these eruptions in Siberia cause such widespread global extinction?
It's like a chain reaction. The eruptions released enormous amounts of carbon dioxide, CO2, into the atmosphere.
And CO2, of course, traps heat, so I'm guessing this led to some serious global warming.
Exactly. Global temperatures soared by 5 to 10 degrees Celsius, which is a massive increase. Think about how much we're worried about a 1-degree rise today.
Yeah, a 10-degree increase that would completely transform the planet.
And it did, but the rising temperatures were just the beginning.
Yeah.
All that CO2 being pumped into the atmosphere had another devastating effect: ocean acidification.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. It's like what happens when you leave a tooth in a glass of cola, right? The acid eats away at it.
Precisely. The oceans were becoming more and more acidic, and this was especially bad news for marine creatures with shells like the trilobites.
Oh, the trilobites, those iconic little guys who'd been cruising the oceans for hundreds of millions of years.
Yeah, sadly, they, along with countless other marine species, simply couldn't survive in these increasingly acidic waters.
It's just heartbreaking to think about a whole world being slowly poisoned by these eruptions.
It really is. It highlights how interconnected all of Earth's systems are. What happens in one place like Siberia can have ripple effects that reach the farthest corners of the planet.
So we've got scorching temperatures, acidic oceans. It sounds like a total nightmare scenario.
And it gets worse. As if the heat and acid weren't enough, the eruptions also led to widespread oxygen depletion in the oceans.
Oxygen depletion. So basically these eruptions were suffocating marine life.
Essentially, huge dead zones formed where there simply wasn't enough oxygen to support life. Imagine a fish gasping for breath in an ocean that's losing its air.
That's just horrifying. It makes you wonder, did anything survive this apocalypse?
Well, some things did manage to cling on, but it was a very different world after the Great Dying. We'll talk more about the survivors and the long road to recovery after the break.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine anything surviving such extreme conditions. But I guess life always finds a way, even in the face of unimaginable catastrophe.
It does, and the story of how life rebounded after the Great Dying is just as fascinating as the story of the extinction itself.
I can't wait to hear more about it. But for now, we need to take a quick break. We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into the Great Dying. Okay, so we've been talking about this massive extinction, the Great Dying. But life on Earth didn't just end there, right?
Absolutely not. In fact, in many ways, the extinction was a new beginning. It's kind of a mind-blowing concept.
Yeah, it's like hitting the reset button on evolution, wiping the slate clean, and giving new forms of life a chance to emerge.
Exactly, and that's exactly what happened. After the Permian extinction, there were all these ecological niches suddenly vacant, just waiting to be filled.
So who were the big winners in this post-apocalyptic world?
Well, on land, it was the early ancestors of mammals and dinosaurs who really took advantage of the situation.
Really? So the dinosaurs kind of owe their existence to this extinction event?
In a way, yes. They were able to diversify and evolve in ways that wouldn't have been possible if the Permian extinction hadn't happened.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like the whole course of evolution was changed by this single event.
And don't forget about those Lystrosaurus we talked about before.
Oh yeah, those pig-sized reptiles that seem to be everywhere.
They were one of the few creatures that actually thrived in the harsh post-extinction world. They were incredibly adaptable and resilient.
So for a while there, it was basically the planet of the pig lizards.
Pretty much. But eventually, other creatures started to evolve and fill those empty niches as well. It took millions of years, but eventually life on land recovered and became even more diverse than before.
That's amazing to think about. And what about the oceans? Did they ever fully recover?
It took much longer for the oceans to bounce back. The extinction was especially hard on marine life, and some groups never fully recovered.
Like those trilobites we were talking about before?
Exactly. They and many other marine species were simply wiped out completely. Other groups, like the ammonites, eventually made a comeback, but in new and different forms.
So it was like a whole chapter of life in the oceans was closed forever.
In a way, yes. The Permian extinction had a profound and lasting impact on marine biodiversity.
It's a reminder that even though life is incredibly resilient, it's also incredibly fragile.
Absolutely. It's a delicate balance, and when that balance is disrupted, the consequences can be devastating.
So this great dying, it was a global catastrophe, but it also set the stage for the evolution of life as we know it.
Exactly. It's a story of both destruction and renewal. It's a reminder of the power of nature both to create and to destroy.
And it's a story that has some pretty important lessons for us today.
Absolutely. The Permian extinction is a stark warning from the past. It shows us what can happen when we push the planet's systems too far.
So it's not just an ancient history lesson. It's a cautionary tale for our own time.
Precisely. We need to learn from the past and take action to protect the planet's future.
And that's what we'll be talking about in our next segment after the break. Okay, so we've been digging deep into this Permian-Triassic extinction event, the Great Dying. It's a pretty heavy topic, huh?
It is. It's hard to fathom the scale of the devastation, but it's also an incredibly important story to tell.
Yeah, it really makes you think about the fragility of life on Earth. And it makes you wonder, could something like that happen again?
That's a question that weighs heavily on the minds of many scientists today.
I mean, we're facing some pretty serious environmental challenges right now. Climate change, pollution, biodiversity loss.
Exactly. And while we can't predict the future with absolute certainty, the Permian extinction serves as a stark reminder of what can happen when we push the planet's systems too far.
It's like a cautionary tale from the deep past.
Precisely. It's a story that highlights the interconnectedness of all life on Earth and the potential consequences of disrupting that delicate balance.
So what can we learn from the Great Dying that can help us navigate these challenges today? I mean, we can't exactly stop volcanoes from erupting, can we?
No, we can't control geological events like volcanic eruptions or asteroid impacts, but we can control our own actions.
So it's about taking responsibility for our impact on the planet.
Absolutely. And unlike the creatures that perished during the Permian extinction, we have a powerful tool at our disposal: knowledge.
We understand the science behind these environmental challenges.
Exactly. We have the ability to study the past, learn from it, and apply that knowledge to make more informed decisions about the future.
So it's not just about doom and gloom, it's about empowerment.
Exactly. We have the power to change course to create a more sustainable future for ourselves and for all life on Earth.
Okay, so what can we actually do? What steps can we take to make a difference?
There's a lot we can do both individually and collectively. We can reduce our carbon footprint by making more conscious choices about transportation, energy consumption, and the products we buy.
So it's about making sustainable choices in our everyday lives.
Exactly. We can also support businesses and organizations that are committed to environmental sustainability, and we can advocate for policies that protect the planet.
It sounds like it's going to take a global effort to really make a difference.
It will, but I'm optimistic. I believe that we have the ingenuity and the compassion to create a brighter future.
Well, I certainly hope you're right. We've learned so much about the Great Dying, and it's a story that will stay with me for a long time.
Me too. It's a reminder of the incredible resilience of life on Earth, but also its vulnerability.
And ultimately, it's a call to action, a reminder that we all have a role to play in protecting our planet.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through time. And remember, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking questions.
Because the more we understand about our planet's past, the better equipped we are to shape its future.
Until next time, deep divers.
What did you think of this week's episode? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to join us next time as we dive even deeper. And as always, stay curious, because you never know what discoveries are just around the corner.